Danny had awoken a bit later on and asked what happened. The Fright Knight told him that he took down Vlad, but the plumbers had made another announcement that the plan wouldn't have worked because the sample they were studying from when they tried to destroy it earlier had shown that it's made of ectoranium, and so ghosts couldn't touch the disasteroid. Sighing, he asked where his dad was, and the knight tells him that since the reveal he was sorta depressed and so was moping down in the lab. Nodding, Danny faced down there to talk to him, asking his dad if he was feeling alright. Jack asked if it was true what was said there, and Danny says that he's got a copy of the DNA test. But that doesn't matter, because as far as he's concerned, he's the son of Maddie. And Jack Benton. Jack asked his son if he really meant that, and Danny nodded in response, telling his dad that he wants to know how he really feels. Then here goes. Danny then tells him that he's not so good with the actually catching ghosts bit, making Jack look down, saddened by the fact that he didn't think of him as much of a ghost hunter. Danny then continued on, adding that he's a genius inventor, and a lot of the gadgets he's made have come in really useful, stating that without them, he wouldn't be the ghost hunter he is today. Jack then looked up at his son, curious, and our main half-ghost hero then says that most importantly, he couldn't imagine having a better dad. Jack says that he's just trying to cheer them up, though Danny says maybe so, but he means every word of it, and if he ever had children of his own, he hopes to be even half the dad they are. Smiling, Jack then hugged his son, saying thank you. He really needed to hear that. But now they needed to find a way to save the Earth, and this genius is going to figure out how. Having his spirits renewed, he began to work to figure out how they could save everyone, working with Danny to come up with an idea. Working with Danny's ghost powers, at first, they'd come up with the idea of freezing the disasteroid and then having them touch the ice, making it intangible. But they pointed out that freezing it would take too long to coat the whole thing in ice, but they could freeze an area large enough for the ghost members of Team Phantom to touch it. Nodding, they added that to the list of ideas. The ghost rays were out, though, because they couldn't provide enough force to bust it to bits if they did strike it. And so Jack crumpled that one up, throwing it towards the trash can, but the fan in the lab had blown the balled up paper away. Danny's dad then said to wait just a moment, and threw another ball of paper at the fan, making it blow back away. Then threw another one, this time like a baseball, and again the fan blew it away. Jack then said that's it. They don't have to touch it at all. What if they sent it back to whence it came instead? Confused, Danny asked what he meant, and he then explained to his son if they could create enough force, they could slow down the disasteroid and bring it to a stop, then push it outwards away from the Earth. Danny said that could work, but there's no air in space, and Jack asked if their ghostly whale actually required air, to which he says they needed to at least get a deep breath, and Jack suggested the helmet from the Spectre Speeder, tossing it to Danny, and our hero says that could work. Time to put the plan into motion. Danny asked Wolf if he could open a portal to Bellwood. They needed all the time they could get, and Wolf said that if he knew where that was, so they showed him the inside of the Earth Plumber base, and so they nodded and clawed their way through, with Danny gathering the team and their families and having everyone head off to the Earth base. Explaining the plan to Max, he says that sounds like a good idea, and Danny then told the Team Phantom, along with the rest of the plumbers, of their little plan to stop the disasteroid. They would take ship in their spacecraft form, since he could drop down each person as needed into the safety of the craft faster than any normal plumber vessel. He, Dan, Fright Knight, Danielle, and Albedo and Rook Blanco would be going. Sam asks what their task was, and Jack says that the rest of the plumbers and Team Phantom are to help with the evacuation procedures down below, just in case things went south. Try to save as many people as possible. With Wolf's ability to claw open portals, he could help them be as fast as possible with evacuating entire countries the world over if needed. Nodding, they all began getting ready and doing their part, launching our main group to go and handle the disasteroid with specialized space helmet. Coming up on the disasteroid fast, they changed into their ghost forms, and Albedo had gone Lycanthrawler Rook, the Fright Knight, and a ship were all blasting the disasteroid, trying to slow it down, with Albedo then went to stop it with Danielle, her unleashing the sonic wail and Albedo using a sonic howl to help add fuel to the fire. Dan asked if he was ready to do this, with Danny jokingly saying did he even need to ask. The two of them then made copies of themselves, so that there were now 4 of them each, and then phased out to the top of ship to join the others, adding 8 more ghostly whales to the mix, and the force caused the disasteroid to begin to slow down and come to a stop. When it stopped, they continued to pour on even more juice, as Danielle fainted and Ship dropped her back inside, followed by Albedo, then Rook, who was out of ammo, leaving only Danny the Fright Knight and Dan, the only ones left, as Ship had also run out of ammunition. They continued to pour it on until all of the copies had vanished and the 2 remaining phantoms fainted, being let back inside along with the Fright Knight, who barely had enough strength to hold on, watching the disasteroid fly away. We cut to after the whole thing was over and see that Jack somehow had become mayor, with Maddie as deputy mayor. The 2 told the crowd that it gave them great pleasure to unveil the Team Phantom statue in commemoration of how they were able to save their world by sending the disasteroid away, and Jazz pulled the curtain off of a statue of the Team Phantom logo, with each member of the team carved into its design. The crowd cheered about the statue being made, and Dan had Danielle up on his shoulders asking if she was still nervous, to which she responds, saying after all that she could take on the world, with Dan encouraging her, saying, "Atta girl." Wolf asked where Danny and Sam were, and the Fright Knight says that they're taking a little them time. Tucker says now that's out of the way, he's ready for things to get back to as normal as possible, with Cujo barking as if responding to his statement. Sam and Danny were under a large tree sharing a kiss together before relaxing, and Danny jokingly saying he needed to save the planet more often if that's his reward, to which his girlfriend playfully punched him in the arm and laughed. We then cut off back to Clockwork's lair as he, Soul, and Paradox were watching everything go down. Soul says that this really is one interesting timeline they found themselves in, to which Paradox responds that it's quite unique to be sure, unlike any he's discovered along his way through the multiverse, and Clockwork then adds that usually Danny tries to make the world intangible, but having his team around really changed things, and he's curious to see how it plays out. The 3 of them each threw down a pair of dice, letting them roll onto the floor, hitting Snake Eyes on all 3 sets.